young men out there, I hope you guys are paying attention.
Yes, please.
Toxic masculinity affects men and women in many different ways. And as you can see, you might have a one-track mind on, the effects, but you got to be aware you're doing more damage to the people around you than yourself some of the time. So just pay attention to what, Val is talking about. She's obviously the female perspective on this episode.
Yeah.
And open your eyes, guys. If a nigga ever tell you meet him run the back, we all know that's a trap. Hey, money low, drug dealer coming off you a stack. We all know that's a trap. Word. You ain't put in no work, but she throw pussy back. We all know that's a trap. Hey, if it fell off, nigga peel off, that's a fact. We all know that's a trap. If a nigga ever tell you meet him run the back, we all know that's a trap. Hey, money low, drug dealer coming off you a stack. We all know that's a trap. Hey guys, what's going on? It's the new year, 2021 is the first episode of the new year. Happy to be here. I'm your boy DSD Major. I got my co-host, Old Soul, with me. And real quick, we're gonna be talking about toxic masculinity today. We have a special guest. JJ, please introduce our guest.
Val, hi.
Hi.
She makes me nervous.
I try not to. I'm so relaxed. I'm so chill.
So the energy is real, guys.
She's kind of pretty.
She's real. Before we kick things off, just remember, guys, to hit that bell for notifications. Definitely like, comment, and subscribe. This is the 22 Stone Productions YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. This is the Who's Manz This podcast.
Please and thank you.
Toxic masculinity, guys. It's a topic that is, it could be very abrasive. It could be very diverse. How should I say it? JD, take it away.
I think we should also say that it's a hard conversation to start too at the same time. I feel like our generation, as in people that were born, I guess, in the 90s, like late 90s to, I guess you'd say 95, 94, right around there. We're trying to break old habits, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's learning to keep some of the old, but also getting rid of some of the old too at the same time and researching some of the new. I think that it needs to be approached with love, understanding, and with I don't know where else to go from there, but
while you ponder on that thought,
okay,
I do have a definition here, but I want to get Val's idea of the definition of the toxic masculinity. What comes to mind when you think of it?
Very important.
A lot of things come to mind. I would say a man who's not stable, and because of his emotional stability, he projects that outwardly from anyone around him, whether it be through pride, because he doesn't want anyone that he cares about or anyone in general to know, because, the way society teaches a man to be is just very conflicting within itself. So it forces this kind of like emotional trap or Pandora's box that's only personal to them.
Gotcha.
So like I feel like when that happens, they tend to like project all of those issues outwardly sometimes by just dropping things and then being like that term toxic masculinity.
Exactly. As soon as you hear toxic, you get that negative connotation.
Right. I do.
Does to you as a woman, does that lead to all categories of a man, or are you specifying in dating as in a man expressing himself? Like when you think of that term, how toxic is that for that man itself? Like, what do you concentrate on?
How toxic is that man itself?
Yeah.
Like, what do I concentrate on that he carries?
Yes. Doesn't have to be in a relationship, but just in general. Like, what sticks out to you the most?
If he easily gets bothered or annoyed at anything around him, that's I think a telltale sign. I think a narcissistic man.
That's a good word. That's a good word.
Did you feel the vocabulary out of her face?
SATs?
Oh, SAT choice.
Guys, real quick, before we even continue, I do have a definition here, just for the audience, so you get a general sense of what toxic masculinity is in the whole.
Then we're gonna continue.
Yes, we do. Yes, we will.
Listen.
We have some well-crafted segments to help you guys follow along very smoothly. So just stay tuned. I got you right now. Okay, so what is toxic masculinity? I have it here. It's the cultural pressures for men to behave in a certain way. It also refers to the notion that some people's ideas of manliness perpetuates domination, homophobia, and aggression, right? So that's the definition.
Good points.
Let's get into the first segment of this topic. Let's talk about some conscious examples of toxic masculinity. What are some conscious examples that comes to mind?
You go first. I want to hear what you
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Chivalry is not
Pressure's
done.
on.
Usually I'm first because I'm the main lady, but you know, today
she,
we
she
actually
looked,
have the main lady.
Val looked at me like, motherfucker, me?
I was like, is it me? I was like,
I saw a bead of sweat drip from your eyebrows. You feel me?
Do you see the vein in her forehead too? She's like, if you do not ask me
You know,
first.
The
she
pressure
told me
is
before the
on.
podcast she was masculine. I saw the vein. I said, okay, look, hey, Goku, chill out.
But she was saying pride?
So you want to know? Let's first tell signs of it.
Some conscious examples, like some things that you think would be like purposely done. You know what I mean? Like
Purposely done. I mean,
We're gonna do conscious and unconscious. We're gonna start off with conscious.
I don't know. I think putting your pride up and your ego up all the time to intimidate someone for no reason, someone who's not necessarily threatening you, someone who's very nice to you in a room or in a space, and is just generally, sharing room with your family, with whoever, but you're the one who's bugging them like, hey, boy, come over here. Or you're constantly trying to up on them with your ego in the room because you feel like you could with your masculinity. Like, I've seen that with my uncle. I'm gonna shout you out because my
What's
uncle
up,
Theo, my Theo has that energy. I feel that what you guys are talking about, like, he can never do wrong. He's always right and everything. You know what I mean? So when you have that mentality, you can't hear nobody. Everybody's blocked off, and you're always gonna put your masculine energy up. He would literally look at my ex-boyfriends, whoever he met, and he'd be like, "What are you here for? You think you could be with my niece?" He's like, I got a gun right here in my room, right? And I'm like, yo, they don't gotta know all that. You know what I'm saying?
Competitive nature. You know what's funny? Look, also, we're both guilty of it at times.
Yes.
We're both guilty of it.
Yes.
She hit a few points. She hit a few points that I want to get your idea on or your opinion on. She mentioned she used the term "fag boy." In the definition, it talks about homophobia, right?
Yeah. You hear a lot of it. You hear a lot of it in our everyday banter.
Absolutely, and that competitive vibe to be like, yo, you're like that machismo thing, like
Well,
saying, I'm the bigger man than you.
Wouldn't
know what I mean?
that bother you that you are a straight man and a straight man is literally calling you that because he knows he's getting under your skin? And that's that energy that my uncle brings, bro. And I feel like that is that toxic masculinity there. Because if you say that to a straight man, because you know he's not gonna say nothing, he's a little pushover, my nigga. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna.
It would bother me that he thinks that it would bother me. Not the term itself would bother me. It bothers me like, you really think that you using that term is gonna bother me? That just lets me know that's toxic masculinity right there, because you feel like you gotta puff your chest out or diminish my pride or my ego to boost yours. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. But
So-
you mature for that.
Yes, I am.
Because not a lot of men are mature-minded for that. They'll just hop on a wave.
I don't got a full beard, but I'm mature. You feel me?
Yeah.
You feel me?
That's still in question. Just to let you know. It's still in question.
Roommate.
No, but I'm just saying. Consciously, back to the question of consciously. I think
Yeah.
consciously, I think it's really practiced and shown when a father is teaching his son incorrect ways to being raised. I think that's where the problem lies too. Consciously.
But okay, with that, but how is it conscious? Remember, focus on the word conscious. Conscious is something that is purposely exuded or purposely done, right?
So we will take, for example, Kevin Hart. There was a skit that Kevin Hart did in his routine where his son was playing with another boy.
Okay.
And the boys were playing, and I think they were rubbing it against each other.
I like this. I
right?
like this example. Good
And he goes, he knocks them both down. And he goes, no, stop. That's gay.
High five. High five over Val.
Looking in there too. So, though it's a joking matter, and we make light of it in certain aspects, we have to understand that mentality needs to be it needs to be killed off. It's a necessary thing that needs to be done for us, because the one thing that I think my father has done is embrace my emotions and let me know that when it's okay to cry, when you need to toughen up, and when you get that tough love, and know when to. I think one of the best things my father ever told me was loving from afar. Ooh. Some people aren't made for you to love so close because they'll hurt you. You gotta learn how to love people from afar. Now it's different compared to loving people from afar from protection to loving people so close, and then it gets misinterpreted for the homophobic aspect, which I think irritates the hell out of me.
Before you delve in deeper into that, save that, because we have a segment called Nature versus Nurture. Nature and Nurture, right? And that'll go well with that segment.
He's telling me to shut the fuck up.
I am telling you to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
In a kind way. Shut the fuck up, motherfucker.
There's love, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Me and more. You feel me? Okay, so a couple things I want to say just before we move on to unconscious examples. I was actually on YouTube, and I came across this YouTube channel called Madame Noir, right? And It was started by this lady named Africa Miranda. You can
Shout
follow
out.
her. Yes, absolutely. I'm shout out right now.
Shout out,
You can follow her on IG at Africa Miranda. And a couple of the points that she mentioned about toxic masculinity is some conscious examples is the policing of women, right? So masculinity, toxic masculinity has a negative effect on our women, right?
Yes.
She mentioned the policing of women, the abandonment of women, sexual objectification, and a couple of the people that she mentioned with this is Donald Trump, R. Kelly, and believe it or not, Biz from the movie Back to the Future. Right?
As soon as you
Biz
said R.
from
Kelly.
Back from the Future.
Yes,
like,
Biz,
not with
Biz
it.
from Back to the Future. Biz was the guy that was always knocking on Marty McFly's head like, hey,
Oh,
hey,
the
is
bully.
somebody in there?
The bully.
Exactly.
The bully, got
but,
it.
But everywhere he went, his ego would take over his pride. He would put another man down to boost himself.
And it was unnecessary.
It was absolutely unnecessary. So shout outs to Africa Miranda. She really hit great points. And actually, when I mentioned
Miranda,
sexual
I'm a huge fan of yours.
objectification-
I love you.
You're stupid. When I mentioned sexual objectification, I actually put that for both conscious and unconscious.
Okay.
So let's transition.
Okay.
We're going to go into unconscious examples of toxic masculinity. Val, what comes to mind?
Unconscious.
Unconscious.
So that means that they're not aware of it.
They're
right?
not aware. Absolutely not.
And that will come into the homophobic aspect of anything.
That
like
could be it.
You know, that definitely falls in that because that's both.
Yes.
It could be both.
It could be
Sometimes
both.
somebody can be taught that, and again, I always feel like when you're taught to an individual, 50% of the time they are their true selves because they were taught that nature. Another 50% is
So you're
within
saying
their
they were
power.
groomed that way.
Yes, always.
Or
But when it-
sometimes it's the experience too.
I think it's the experience too. I have some definitely some shared experience when it comes
So
to
you
that.
have, so you have examples.
I have examples.
Yes,
Unconscious.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Unconscious wise, I gotta say I've learned some bad behaviors, unconscious wise, through my peers growing up from middle school, high school especially, when we talk about sex and we're talking about the whole, experiences of what you should and shouldn't do with a woman at a time.
Give
We're
us
all
an
experts at
example.
part.
Just specific. Give us an example of you and your friends and that conversation. How did it come up? How did you feel?
For me in high school, one of the biggest things that was a problem for me was from my peers. Like I have friends that were gay, openly gay. I remember that, and they had a very feminine touch to them. But you would see how they would interact with them as if they had a disease. I always hated that. They always felt like, I can't get too close to you because I don't want anybody to perceive that we're close like that. You know what I mean? But meanwhile, just because you're gay don't mean that you're a disease or something like
absolutely
that. That honestly,
That rubs- that rubs you.
not even rubs me. It pisses me the hell off.
Everybody's,
He's like
everybody's on a
grinds your
level
gears.
playing field. Everybody's on a level playing field. You gotta treat everyone the same. You don't have to agree with a certain lifestyle to treat everyone the same. Everybody can have their own opinions. You can disagree with anything you want, but it's all about showing respect and treating people equally. So, unconscious examples.
An unconscious example, as he stated, is like those things that are passed down that are like kind of taught. Like you're not aware of you doing it, and you're not aware of who you're hurting around you, but it's your energy that is affecting everyone.
Have you ever experienced toxic masculinity directed towards you, unconsciously or consciously?
Yes.
Tell me more.
Unconsciously.
Get close to your radio, people.
Unconsciously, I think I have. I think I've dealt with a man who was very egotistical and was stated that.
Is this a boyfriend?
Yes.
I ain't gonna lie, we don't like you, nigga. You feel me?
Yo, smell her scent one more time. I'll smack the shit out you.
2 hands.
But I feel like he was just very egotistical. He had this energy, but he always talked the right words and saying, oh, I'm not this person. I'm very giving. I'm very selfless. But then his energy gave me negativity, gave me the opposite. It wasn't sheltered. It wasn't security. It was like, I'm bothered.
Security?
I want you to be, yeah.
I got that.
Yeah, he's secure in the bag.
I got you, Val. Don't worry. I got you. You protected. I got you.
So it's like, it was just very weird and very toxic. And I think a lot of women subject themselves to settle for this energy.
Absolutely.
And it's like, we don't have to. There's some men who even go as far as verbally abusing, but they only do that because they're projecting what they feel personally towards themselves in their head, and they're just saying it out loud when they're mad with you. And you are the only one that is always with them and you care for them. So they're going to speak it to you and project it to you.
You're the only outlet. You're there at that time.
And
Exactly.
people don't understand that, but I feel like some men come from an unconscious place when they do that too. Like they're broken and they probably haven't had that support ever or that showing of how he experienced his life, and his father saying that you are welcome to express your emotion, you are welcome to feel. These men never received that. You know.
Also, you raised your hand.
I have a question for you, but
Yeah.
I also want
Like a good student.
I am. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
you
I still
are.
look like it. Especially I shaved and I got clean cut. I'm looking like I'm 12 again. I'll be
He
happy
tells
with
no
this.
lies, people.
But I want to add on to that. A lot of us out there needs to be known, and you have to just say it out loud, which is very tough nowadays, is the fact that we are broken men, and we've been raised as broken men, and that's something that we need to actually focus on and heal as soon as possible, because
Agreed.
for us to progress, we need to admit that I was raised wrong, I want to change my ways, and I want to be a better person. Because we all want to be better either way. Every day you get up in the morning, you want to be better. Now my question to you is, how toxic and with these broken men, how are they hurting our women? Let me ask you that question. It could be either intimate, or it could be your uncle. It could be family like that. Like, how much does it hinder a woman to see a man that's that broken betray those bad
Oh
characteristics?
yeah, it really does affect us. This is one thing that I've overcame last year, so this is amazing that you guys have this episode with me, because I'm really this is literally what I just got rid of and healed from.
We're hitting home, people.
We're definitely
hitting
hitting
home.
home.
Strong woman alert. Now I'm saying strong, independent alert. Now means?
I just really hope that I'm a voice to a lot of women that choose to keep quiet about this at the same time. But I think seeing my father, seeing my uncles, seeing how they treated women, and how women had this importance in our culture, right? And like how we had to always be there for them, serve their coffee, make sure that they had their breakfast made, and all this and all that. It very much teaches us to do whatever the man wants and settle for that. So it's like our culture, machismo, is drilled in us sometimes, and that's on both. So I feel like that really does take a toll on us. I've had men state things that they said they were ready for, but they knew internally they weren't. Bought my hopes up, invested, and then broke opportunities and chances with that person. But yeah, cool, you broke it, but you don't know the cause or the pain that you left this woman after she left you. Like, she's no longer going to be the same after you. And neither will you, because you just wasted her time, because you said, I was ready for this, I'm prepared for this, I'm financially stable, I want to put you first, but you did the complete opposite in your actions. You didn't put me first, you didn't put that time in, you wanted that image, but just as bad as I did, but you couldn't fulfill it, and you wasted my time. And I just feel like...
You really hit home on a point that I noted down too. You're mentioning something that goes along with unconscious example, because a lot of guys, they get into relationships, they promise you the world, and, I'm going to do this for you, and they show these signs of toxic masculinity by not fulfilling those promises, right? And you just mentioned, like, a guy leaving you and not fulfilling the promises that he made, and leaving you stuck, and leaving you, with those emotions. So what I noted down here was emotional detachment. Like, these guys, it could be the other way around when a woman is leaving a guy or turns him down. A lot of guys can't handle that. Like, just rejection in general.
Really?
A guy might ask you out, hey Val, I want to take you for a cup of coffee. I want to take you to get something to eat.
Right.
Oh, no, DSD, I'm not interested.
Right.
What do you mean you're not interested? You don't see my chain I got on? You don't see these nice jeans I got on? What's the matter with you? Right there, I'm trying to impress you with something else that I don't need to, because I'm trying to make myself seem more masculine. Why is she not responding to what I have to offer her? You know what I mean?
Because it doesn't involve material.
It doesn't involve material, but a lot of guys, they want to pull up in their fancy cars because they don't want to be true to themselves, And they don't even realize they're doing it. Unconscious. They don't even realize they're doing it.
Yeah, I see.
Another thing, too, that I want to know, two more things. Hyper-competitiveness. If I walk into a room and JJ walks into a room and a girl shows him attention, now I got to put him down. Oh, his jacket is not that nice. You see my jacket. Oh, he don't got swag like me. What's up with that?
Oh, when that happens, I call that guy out, and they don't like that, because they think the feminine energy doesn't peep that. But when I do, because I'm masculine a little bit, I'll be like, oh, don't be hating on his jacket. Why you talking shit, y'all? Like, I instantly call him out.
JJ and I do it. We're obviously joking around. This is my brother. Like,
Yeah.
we met. You can see the vibe that we have, the connection that we have. We're obviously joking around.
Taking years.
I'm going to conclude this segment by mentioning one more thing: the sexual objectification of women. And I put that in both conscious and unconscious, because you don't even realize you're doing it. You're scrolling on IG. You're looking at her like, damn, she's sexy as hell. This girl mad thick. Ooh, look at her lips, man. Ooh, man, I want to do this, do that. And in your mind, you're like, damn, I'm just attracted to this woman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking that I'm putting her down or I'm walking in the street. Oh man, damn, she got a fat ass. Look at her, man. You don't even realize what you're doing. You're putting her down. You're sexually objectified. Why can't you just go have a conversation, get to know that person?
And that same thing, that broadness that everybody well know of is known on the female side too, because they hear us all the time.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's the pressures that come to that woman too. Is like dealing with all of the pressures of society and how a woman should look right now. It's crazy. It's like now that we have new trends of like doing lashes. I've never got my lashes done. This is my first time. Okay.
Girl,
On top of the yes.
Girl, your lashes is on fleek, girl.
If she blinks hard, she's smacking your credit score down by 6 points.
Girl, I just want to tell you looking snatched.
Thank you.
You looking snatched in a motherfucker.
But I train. I just feel like these are big pressures. Now people are doing lip fillers because this is what the beauty, like having big lips. And like you said, it has a lot to do with what you guys like. It has a lot to do with that. Like, and then also, I've had to force myself to get out of the cycle that I put myself through with watching my father and how he treated women. Because my father, the way he treated women was, he would go into the house only one day out of the week and then be working throughout the whole week. Never come home, and then she would take care of the kids while she was home doing everything, cooking and everything. So he would be out and hoeing around and sleeping with whoever. So what did that do to me in turn? It made me settle for whatever. When I was 19, when I was whatever, because I never had a father affection or love displayed to me ever. And it forced me to accept any love or any affection that was displayed. I was like, oh, he must like me because he's doing this and he's doing that. And then I didn't value myself to the standard that I should have. And a lot of women are out here doing that right now. And they're not doing it in a way that is healthy. What they're doing is running away from it just as a man runs away from it. But the way we run away from it is
without actually taking care of the problem.
Exactly. It's either like waking up to Good Morning Texas because it makes me feel good and whatever. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean to cut you out.
You
caught me giving a cue to my calls. You caught me. Like a little bit of,
I don't want to, but yeah.
Also, but before you go, because I'm going to go on to the next segment.
Of course.
Young men out there, I hope you guys are paying attention.
Yes, please.
Toxic masculinity affects men and women in many different ways. And as you can see, you might have a one-track mind on, the effects, but you got to be aware you're doing more damage to the people around you than yourself some of the time. So just pay attention to what, Val is talking about. She's obviously the female perspective on this episode. Yeah. And open your eyes, guys. And don't just think about yourself when you're exuding these examples of toxic masculinity. Moving on to the next segment, I got a question for you guys. Mm-hmm. Is toxic masculinity an unfair generalization or an accurate concept? So I'm gonna say it one more time. Is it an unfair generalization of men or an accurate concept?
I have an answer.
Go ahead.
It's yes.
Mm-hmm.
Elaborate.
I think that is unintentional, and I think that, like I said before, every individual is different. Every individual. I don't care what religion. I don't care what race. Every man is his own individual. But you can tell a lot how he holds himself to a certain standard, to his characteristics because of how he was raised. But at the same time, if he does have bad flaws that he doesn't acknowledge, he has a choice of making that better or just staying the way he is. And that's something that I think, MT, but also female toxicity too at the same time. I think both subjects affect each sex the same if anything else. So that's how I feel. And that's very, very important. It should not be underlined either. Because there's both force on each side.
I see you transition to bun swag, right?
She just transitioned to Super Saiyan 1.
Now that Val, Reflections with Val, now that she's transitioned to bun swag, I need your answer on this. Is it an unfair generalization or an accurate concept?
I think it's an accurate concept for me because I took psychology, so it helps me box things in.
You about to psychoanalyze us right now?
Yeah.
Do your thing, girl. Do your thing.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I'm uncomfortable now.
I just feel like, it's like that general term like depression or anxiety, right? And I think it's that society or sociology term for us to understand that toxic masculinity and female toxicity is also very much prominent. And I think, like he was saying, it does matter on how you were brought up in and where you were raised and what you were doing, in life. And everybody has an individual story, but that really does determine on how you move and your toxicity and what you're bringing out into this world. Like, are you bringing light or are you bringing people down to boost your ego up, male or female? And I think when you are more self-aware and self-cautious of it, we have to get down to a root. And how are we going to know our problem if we don't find the root cause? So like psychology says, the first step is acknowledgement. Acknowledging that I have toxic masculinity as a term could help me understand what I'm actually facing, so I can move to the next hurdle.
I like the way you unconsciously just let us into our next segment. I can tell you're a podcaster professional. You've been doing this, guys. You've been doing
I've been doing this.
So,
Yo, her flex is serious right now. I'll tell you that shit right now.
So she mentioned, the key word that she mentioned just now was like the root of the problem, right? You said that word. So that takes us into the next question. Where does toxic masculinity come from? I got three brackets or sub brackets here, if you will, that'll kind of like help us, instead of generalize it, specify more
The root of the
problem, right?
Go ahead.
So we have parenting, childhood, America's culture, and then we have peer pressure. So let's start off with where does it come from? Does it come from parenting?
That's good.
Yes,
That's
definitely.
good.
We both agreed on that.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna throw my little 2 cents in, right? So I want to just say this, guys. Being masculine and being a man is not negative. That's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Masculinity, the word isolated from toxic, right? It's not a negative thing.
No,
it's
it's
good
not.
to be I'm a man. I'm supposed to be masculine. I'm supposed to have masculinity. You know what I mean? I'm supposed to be a provider for my family. I'm supposed to, I'm the gatherer, the hunter-gatherers, if you will, right?
See what I'm saying? Secure.
Secure.
Again. So that's before the show. I said he just looks like he's secure, son. You know what I'm saying? And I just had to tell him that. I was like, you just look like I'm safe with you. You know what I'm saying? He just keeps bringing it back.
Yo, who the hell is she talking about? Yo, she giving all these goddamn compliments. What the fuck about me, if anything else? No,
Well,
stay
no,
on
no,
it.
we-
No,
you
we were
and
on the
I got
same
the eyes.
team. No,
No, we
we were on the same team.
team.
What are you
You say
again?
you got the eyes?
What's your
got the eyes, you know what I'm
What's your
saying?
nationality again?
Puerto Rican.
Dominican.
Exactly. The fuck? Did
you a
see?
hybrid.
Look at this shit. I'm a
She's a
hybrid. Do you
hybrid.
see this? Stun on this shit. And she over there on the dark side.
She said, you look lovable and cute. I'm secure.
She's like, I'm here with
He said,
midnight.
I feel safe.
What the hell you talking?
But nah, but
You feeling?
no.
You feeling they're secure with Batman? What the hell is wrong with you?
Calling you Batman.
you Batman?
So, well, this is Gotham, motherfucker. But I wanted to say, like,
Right.
I want to mention my dad, right? Shout out to my dad, January 17th. It's my dad's birthday.
Happy birthday, bro.
Happy birthday, Pop.
Happy birthday, Papa. We love you.
Okay.
My dad, growing up, taught me unconsciously and consciously negative and positive forms of toxic masculinity
Really?
or masculinity in general. Right?
I got next in that.
My dad taught me, protect the women in your family, protect my younger sister, protect my mom and all the females in my family.
Right.
Make sure you provide. But then there were other times where, I'm my dad's first son, so he didn't know how to raise a man yet. I'm his project child, basically.
Yes.
I'm the first
really?
Trial
I'm the
run.
first
You're the
child.
only one who's gonna bring the last name
You say-
down.
Nah.
You're gonna be the only one.
I like her energy.
Growing up in my teenage years, my dad and I, we were very combative. We went back and forth because, anytime, I might be a little disrespectful, my dad felt like he had to pump his chest out and, talk to me like I was somebody on the street, like a dude on the street. And my reaction was negative. His reaction to that was negative. And it was a tussle, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Even got physical at times. So, it was unconscious, of course.
Yeah.
But he was learning to be a father, learning to be a man in a sense because he never had his father around. And you see the cycle? He didn't have his father. His father wasn't there to teach him how to be a man or to raise a man.
Brought some of that.
He brought some of that into his parenting and raising me. So it was toxic, good and bad. We have a great relationship now, but it just goes to show that it doesn't only affect you. It can go down the chain of command and go to your sons, grandsons, nephews, nieces. Also, take it away, please.
I would like to go on my own thing, and mine's a little different. Though we are brothers, we are definitely, I always tell people all the time that we are the same person, we just use our hearts differently. And I think it has to do with how we
talking
were
about you and
raised. Me and you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have great hearts. It's just that, he protects it one way and I present it another. That being said, don't want to get off topic of male texting, but it was female too. I had a very, very strong, broken woman that was my mother. And she was the type also to show me what it is to be a man to the best of her ability, but she was showing me the bad context of men too.
That applies.
And I heard it from a broken woman talking about men ain't shit, Puerto Rican men ain't shit, this and third and whatever. And it wasn't physical, but it was a mental drain to me of how bad men were. And this is me growing up. And for her to use family examples too and try to make that negative
Condemnation.
all the time just kind of killed me. And it wasn't until I became to be my own man, I started listening to my father more and listening to the person that had more patience with me and stuff of that nature. You can see how I was molded different compared to my peers. You know what I mean? And I feel like when it comes to me and you,
mentioning peers, I like that.
yeah. So when it comes to me and you, people always say opposites attract. You know what I mean? And I feel like for him, when I describe him, he's always been confidential, more reserved than anything else. And me, I'm always the one with energy and out there and stuff of that nature. You know what I'm saying? But we both came from the same kind of background of having that broken home and affecting us somehow. It could be positive, but also could be negative too. You know what I'm saying? Yin and yang. You never know.
You and your father?
Me and my mother. My mother was the one that really put a lot of bad characters in me. You know what I mean? Like bad characteristics in me, and it hurt me for a long time until I consciously
But that's
did
what
an
I'm
effort.
saying. So because of that relationship and that strain, did you find later on in years that you had difficulties in relationships with females due to that strain back in the day?
Yes, and I don't want to get too carried away, obviously,
Yeah.
but when it comes to intimacy with another woman, I tended to see that one of the characteristics I was getting along, I constantly was seeing was that I was dating broken women. And there were women that didn't have the father. Sometimes they needed more than just a boyfriend. I was a many hats in one relationship where I was the father, the boyfriend, the protector, the brother, and I was filling all these voids at young ages.
Yes, that's what
And
I'm
it's
talking
it's
about.
unfair to put that on you because how can you fill all those hats when you're broken yourself?
That's facts.
You know what I mean?
Snapping fingers.
That
We are
was a
snapping
poetry
fingers.
right there. That was a
You know what I'm
gem.
saying? I'll be saying some of that.
Right. Sweet.
Last thing I want to mention in this segment is basically, you got America's culture. America has a way of viewing men and how they're supposed to be masculine and whatnot. It has a negative connotation and
Really,
Negative.
America? Like
America.
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 What is the definition? Like, because I'm not a man. I don't know what they push on you guys. So, like, what do they push
you see
on
it, you see it in social media,
Music videos, music.
music videos.
Okay.
Guys want to have all the money, want to have the girls shaking their ass. They want to have the nice fancy cars. Those are all-
The tattoos.
Absolutely.
The tattoos, all of that is America.
You want to? You checking me?
Talk about MT.
Checking me? I felt that. I ain't gonna-
No, I was not. I just want to know, like, all of that is literally how America pushes the views on how a man should be. For real?
I
Like
feel that.
successful, he has to have money.
Yeah, of course.
That's
of course.
crazy.
Ain't nobody want a broke man.
I'm
a
just-
broke man with no swag. That's
Literally asking because I'm so into this bubble and oblivious. Because I tend to just take any guy. He doesn't have to have money. He doesn't have to have money.
You know why? America, this is a real woman right here. Okay, Reflections with Val. Okay, you know why? You know why her podcast is called Reflections with Val? Because she looked into the mirror at her reflection. She said, "Do I like what I see?
Right?
Do I love this woman right here?
Or do I not?
I sure do." And guess what? She's not perfect, but she makes sure that her flaws, she stays in tune with them and corrects them before she steps out into the real world.
Mirror,
Right,
mirror
right.
on the wall.
Thank you.
Who's the
Reflections
fairest
with
of
Val.
them all?
Yes.
Also, just want to mention peer pressure is a key component when talking about this too, because the circle that you hang with, the guys in your crew might negatively affect it, might positively affect it. JJ is my best friend. He promotes positive messages, and when I go out into the real world, I carry that with me. My father promotes positive messages. He does as well. I know how to treat women. There might be areas where I'm not too abreast on. He gives me insight, and I know how to move a certain way because I hang out with somebody in my circle that's giving me positive light and affecting my masculinity in a good way.
Another thing I want to add on too is the household. Nowadays, I'm not sure if you guys agree with this, but progressively when it comes to the household situation, my father always told me at young, learn how to clean yourself, know how to wash your clothes, know how to wash the dishes and cook for yourself. So when a woman comes into your house, she doesn't feel like she has to be obligated to have to do the old traditional woman stays in the house and clean. No, I want her to be like, I want her to know that we're doing 50-50 in a household. If you ever become mine and become a serious relationship, I want to let you know you are not dedicated to the kitchen. You are not dedicated to doing clothes. You're not dedicated to doing this or that nature.
Yeah, it's
we'll
important.
share that
Let me
responsibility of
quickly
anything else.
interject because you're going into the next thing, which is perfect. Nature or nurture. So is toxic masculinity nature or is it nurture? Is it just embedded in us naturally? Or, like we said, is this something that we learn from, the father figures in our life?
I think it's nurtured.
Nurture?
All of it is nurtured from culture, mixed with peer pressure, mixed with, what we think are classic or our basis of what a man should be or how he should walk and move is like, if you surround yourself with a person who literally has multiple girls and never settles down and has commitment issues, you're most likely going to join in on that. That's what it says, right? For peer pressure coming in. And the American culture, like you said, teaches them to like, oh, snap, look at ass, money. So it just makes the wheel go around to me. So it's all nurtured. That's like, Nick,
JJ, absolutely agree with you, by the way.
Yeah.
100%. Nature or nurtured in your opinion. And you're also going to carry, what you're going to say is going to carry us into our next segment as well.
I have to say, is it nurture or is it
If you have to say for yourself, right?
If I say for myself, it had. I think I was raised a little more different compared to the peers that I call myself best friends. And
So you would say nurture then?
I would say nurture if I'm talking about my father. Yes, I would say it's nurtured, absolutely.
Okay.
But I don't think it's as easy to answer for one of the two. Okay. If I had to add another option, I would say it is culture.
Oh, so you going to add in shit?
I'm adding
You
shit.
say math class, motherfucker.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I apologize. I can't count that high. I apologize. I'm so sorry.
No.
I
You can't
went-
reach that high. I can't count that high.
I can't. I went to public school.
Something is
Burn.
consistent.
I just think that when it comes to, especially, what's it called, different cultures, you know what I'm saying, and interracial, relationships, sometimes there's an imbalance of, well, I raised my child to be this religion, or I raised my child to do this and that, and then there's some sort of like a feud within the household, you know what I'm saying? So I think different cultures could be a good thing, but also could be a damaging thing too at the same time. There's not a respectable and balanced relationship within the household.
You know what I think?
What?
I think you're a respectable young man. And I think your masculinity is more positive than toxic.
Yeah.
And I also want to say this.
I just wish it came with
Did I cut
science
you
and
off?
shut and
No,
height.
no, I was just agreeing with what you were saying. I think
I wish this one segment
you
give me
too.
some
You
height.
both have positive masculinity. And I just came on the show and we talk about toxic masculinity. Like,
You ain't gonna be complimenting me.
it's the truth. For the fact that you guys have this topic as men is very commendable. Like,
Thank
I
you.
really respect it. Like, thank you for having me.
Thank you for letting us have you here. You feel me?
Of course,
So
anytime.
I'm gonna say 90% nurture, 10% nature. I'm gonna say why.
Okay.
That'll carry us right into our next segment. How does toxic masculinity? I've been fucking it up the whole show, like tongue twister, toxic masculinity, rapping and shit.
And you had coffee.
You know what I'm saying? I've been like twisted. I've been rapping out here and shit. So how does toxic masculinity affect growth? Now, like I said, 90% nurture, 10% nature. And now we're gonna get a little more, spicy, get a little more into it. So what I want to bring up with this is an episode in your podcast, right?
Yeah.
Episode 33. You interviewed an artist, Instagram, at freedom_of_righteousness, right?
Yes.
This was a great episode. It was called Embracing Independence. And, Val did a great job interviewing this guy.
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Not no great. Phenomenal.
Clap
If
it up.
anything. Impeccable work, if anything else. Vocabulary words.
Clap it
SATs.
up.
No, excuse me. French, because she's proper and shit. You know what I mean?
So she interviewed this guy, and he talked about the absence of his father, right? He said at the age of 5 or 6 was the last time he ever seen his father, and he mentioned his father, I think, gave him something, and the last thing he could remember about his father was his back walking away.
Mm-hmm.
Such a pivotal point in his message and everything that he said. So the last thing he remembered is his father walking away. And he got older, about 10 years later. His uncle went on Facebook, found his sister. He reached out to his sister and said, yo, where's dad? And she informed him that his dad was shot and killed by his wife at the time, right? So
Wow. What a
the
story.
absence of his father played a role in his life.
Yes.
Why? He was in the streets, selling drugs, hanging out with the wrong crowd. And it is not solely a woman's job to raise a man. The female, relatives in his life were raising him. Yes, he might have had his uncle and other people there, but
Yeah.
he didn't have his father there to raise him.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, he leaned on these male figures in his community.
Yes.
And they were, of a negative lifestyle. So it affected his masculinity in a toxic way. So shout out to @freedom _of_ righteousness. Great message. He's an artist as well. Go follow him.
Yes, please. Story.
It really affects the mental health of men and how they grow, boys and how they grow into men. You know what I mean? Gosh, I'm talking a lot.
No.
You literally hit it on the nail. Like he, in that story as well, he's gone through experiencing abusive relationships around him, physical and verbal, and also being experienced into this lifestyle of, these are my brothers, these are the only people that are my family, because I don't have family. And the only family that I do have is my grandmother, my grandfather, but they literally hit on each other almost every other day. And then my uncles that basically deal. So it's like, what example do you have to go by besides this? I'm gonna just be on this, you know? And that's why he chose to speak up on it, because it didn't define him anymore. He wasn't living that lifestyle anymore. He left that lifestyle, and he was there to speak on all the men that are probably in that lifestyle right now that had no option or told themselves that. But he's like, no, I'm sitting here, I overcame, this didn't define me, I didn't have to be abusive, you know, but like, it's hard, man. He's an artist, he draws out everything that he feels, and soon he'll be a motivational speaker.
Absolutely.
I know it.
He's already one.
Yeah,
And
right.
Also, I want to get your opinion too, but that's why I said it's 10% nature, because 90% of his upbringing was the absence of his father, him leaning to the males in his community, right? But like you said, he overcame. That's his nature.
Ooh, okay.
Nobody helped him to overcome. So it's 10% you. Through life, you gain your own,
So it's
perspectives
nature.
and views, and that's your nature. That's what's in you. Nobody can create what's in you. So after a certain period of time, he realized, yo, this is not for me. Like you said in that episode too, there was a point in time when you looked at your community, you're like, yo, these people, I don't belong here. You
Yeah.
said those words, and I specifically, and I relate to that so much. I resonate with that. You don't belong here,
Yeah.
and that's when you take that next step.
Like, I was around people who were drinking every night, depressed, battled stress, anxiety. We were all working, bartending, and serving. So we were out till 3, 4 in the morning sometimes. And then we went to the bar that was open, and then we would all drink and then do it all over again the next day. And it was like, I was there, and I was surrounded by these people. And I was a part of this, my first podcast, and I wasn't even feeling heard. I was a part of a platform that I was like, yo, I feel clamped shut. And it was crazy. So I was just
you
like,
don't feel clamped shut here, do you?
yeah, I do not. But it was just crazy. And I was just looking around that place, and I was like, yeah, I don't belong here. Like, I'm not depressed right now. I'm trying to strive for what I dream. I'm trying to do all this. Why am I here? And I think a lot of us look around, and we have moments in our lives with family, no family, with friends, no friends, whatever it is. You're in an event, you happen to go to a party, you're like, yo, why am I here? You know, like, it's just that moment.
Also,
Yeah, what up?
staying on the topic of affecting growth, right?
Yes.
Right.
And the effects of toxic masculinity on a man's growth. Let's talk about the inability to express love and emotional isolation.
Actually, I've been thinking about that since you were speaking, and I want to bring a perfect example. One of our close friends, we won't name him, but he is actually an ideal man. Would you shut up?
Let's toast.
Let's go to that. I said,
Black lid, white lid.
I said we don't have to. It's
Hey
okay.
guys,
Fuck yourself.
interracial lids.
Interracial live.
So, long story short, a very good friend of ours, found a woman, fell in love, got married and had a kid within 2 years, right? One thing that I definitely stressed with him, and I constantly always want to do, is keep in contact with him. He moved away from New York going to Texas, and there was a lot of life changes he was making very fast. You remember that period? You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
He fell in love quick, and the wife was fine, and he made a sacrifice to go down there. You know, she had her life settled. But the one thing I kept saying to him is, are you okay? Because of the whole,
Why?
he wasn't home no more, and he's now going into be a free player to a son, now a husband, and going to be a father.
Ooh, that's
And
in a matter of how
in
long?
a matter of like 2 years. You know what I mean?
So,
That's a lot. That's a big transition. Yeah.
That's a huge transition.
so when you asked him if he was okay, were you tapping into the emotional isolation aspect?
That and also the fact is I wanted to be his support system to keep him on a straight path. You know what I mean? Because yes, he was making a sacrifice, and yes, he was going on to his next chapter, but I felt like he didn't have his right support system.
Okay.
And I felt like I wanted to make sure, call me in the meantime if you want to. If you get stressed, if you get overwhelmed, I will put you back on track. Just don't do everything by yourself. That's one thing that needs to be stressed out.
Normal?
That
Like,
is a
can
no-
you
that's a
can you
norm-
guys
That's
be
the
there
norm.
for each other?
No,
No,
it's
it's
normal
normal to
still,
wanna
but
be
we're
by
trying to
yourself.
better it.
Like,
It's normal to handle your stuff by yourself.
yeah.
Yes.
My best friend, I'm sure you could get a sense of our personalities already, just sitting here chatting with us, right?
Right.
He likes to help the world. He wants to know what's on your mind. He wants to know what's in your heart. If you're hurting, he can see it in your eyes, and he wants to help you. I'm the type of person, like,
I'm the
leave
same.
me alone, right? It's not that
yep.
it's not like I don't want to be around you and I don't like you, but I need to handle this alone. I don't want everybody in my space at that particular moment. I want to be alone myself in my own domicile. I want to emotionally isolate myself, like I said.
One quick, I just want to say this. That's not a bad thing either.
That's not.
That's not a bad thing either. But just continue
Too
on.
much of it can be negative. So
Yeah. Okay,
it's a good thing that I have him as a friend,
Put
as
you
a,
on
as a
check
brother.
here and there to be like, hey, you're isolating too much.
Yeah, sometimes he'll just knock on my door like, yo, you good? What's up, man? Come outside and talk with me. Sometimes I'll be like, nah, not right now, man. I just want to be in my room. Sometimes I come out, I chat. What's on your mind? You moping around. What's going on with you? And you need that. Mm-hmm. That affects your masculinity in a positive way, right?
Okay.
And that's stressing communication.
But
which
how
is
many
something
times
we
does
have.
that happen? Not that often, right?
What do you mean?
Men,
that I open up?
Not
or
you
me,
guys.
or
Just
in general?
just in general, men to men.
Not often. It's a problem. That's
what I'm.
That's
trying
what's
to,
contributing
how
to
can we-
toxic masculinity.
How can we better that
Ooh.
in our men? How can we improve that? How can,
Val, are you
Forcing
look at-
segment,
did you look
forcing
at my
transition.
cards?
Okay.
Did you look at my cards
no,
before we
I
got here?
really didn't.
You better.
You spying on us?
That's
hell is
right.
wrong with you?
So guys, we're getting into our last segment here, right? We're bringing everything to
You gonna like this
close,
shit.
And Val asked, how do we fix this, basically, right?
Yeah,
So let's call it toxic masculinity reform.
Okay.
How the fuck do we fix this, guys?
I'll go first. I think communication. Not just, yo, bro, what's going on? Wait, somebody that's just like this all the time. One of our best friends is.
Motherfucker. You didn't even look at my cue card.
I am informed. So
Yes.
that being said, I have another friend that's within my circle. I love him to death. But whenever we do talk about communication, we always got to be on something saying to people like, he always goes he's very vague. I hate that. So like, bro, what's going on with you? I'm going through some shit.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
We know exactly who we're talking about. And I love him to death. But if you love me and you say, yo, bro, I love you, that comes with trust and that comes with support. You know what I mean? Let me in your gate. I'm not
Can't
asking
force it,
you.
though. Can't force it.
I'm not forcing it. That's true. I could be a bit forced, but that's my flaw.
Me too.
But at the same time, again, me be the exception according to my friends. I feel like I have to push that narrative because I need for it to just I need for my boys to confide in me so we're gonna be on the same page. So if he falls for some reason and doesn't tell anybody, at least I'm there. So that's why I think communication needs to be strictly improved when it comes to men-to-men conversation.
Communication. Would you say that also belongs with trust in each other?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Because like I'm not gonna open up to you man to man if I don't trust that you're gonna.
I mean, you can't open up to me man to man because you ain't no man, though.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, if I was a man, I wouldn't just open up to just.
She's not a
any
man. She has breasts. Okay, just letting you guys know.
Well, you don't have to stand for this.
I would just be like, yeah, like I have to trust you, bro. I can't just say what's on my mind. I don't know. I just feel like that's a big thing to do as a woman too. Like if I open up to a woman, I don't know. She just knows my places. I don't know how I feel about
So it's
that.
equal. I didn't know it was like that. Okay, I didn't know it was.
I mean, see, you're not a woman. You got to ask questions. We got a woman sitting right here.
That's what I'm saying. No, women are very open and vocal into how they feel. That's the problem. I think we're too vocalized. We'll be in a room like, sis, let me tell you.
Oh my God, bitch.
And I'm just like, bitch, what he did. And I think that's the issue because you got your sister, your homegirl, and your other homegirl telling you, girl, you should just fuck his best friend too.
Lord.
And it's like, and I'm the only good one. They're like, no, like, bitch, you should just move on. Fix yourself, then get
Do you
somebody.
not see my bun? This is class. Okay.
And they're like, no, we don't want to do that. We just want to like go out clubbing and wear a nice dress and like fuck someone. And I'm like, all right.
This is my interpretation.
I agree with everything you just said except the dress part. Except the dress part. Go out clubbing, fuck someone. I'm gonna put on jeans.
This is how I impersonate Puerto Rican women talking to each other. Mira, pendeja, bitch, hurry up! I need to tell you something. Come here.
Smoking like a true mujer.
It be real, and I feel like we overshare so much that certain girls. This is why I don't like girls. I'm having difficulty with women. They use that information against them. They'll like hold it in like a tank, and you guys know what I'm talking about because I know women do it with y'all too. We'll hold and keep it in. You'll forget about it, but they'll just bring it back.
Yes.
They'll bring that back, and
We call that the old fishing rod.
they'll be like.
So I actually want to offer my solution for toxic masculinity reform. I would say better nurturing, right? And we have to inspire change in our culture.
Consciously.
Of course, as a whole, right?
Absolutely.
We have to walk in it too when we inspire change.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. You can't just...
Yeah.
you can't just preach a message. You have to actually walk that message, live it, so that others can follow your example.
And see it.
As the men of our generation, we need to take hold and take a stand, and really provide better nurturing for our younger brothers and our sons and our nephews coming up, so that we can inspire change within that next culture.
Yes.
So I would say, like you said, JJ, better communication,
Yes.
Nurturing,
Yes.
and that'll change the culture. Those
Absolutely.
are actually the three things that I think that are connected. So that's exactly how I want to end the show.
Yeah.
So I'm going to the show.
Gems.
Yes.
Before we leave, Val, please let the people know where they can find you.
Oh, of course. You guys could definitely find me at soulfully_Val. I am a singer, podcaster, motivator.
She sings.
I have a podcast called Reflections with Val, and that's where I interview different artists from different creatives in different worlds and parts of the world, in the United States, outside, whatever. So if you guys definitely want to look at self-help or improvement, emotional awareness, self-awareness, take it to them or listen in.
Also, definitely follow Val. Don't forget. The podcast is lit.
Thank you.
Any last words?
Oh no, I'm following already. I'm already. I followed.
I
know what I'm
followed
saying?
you too.
I press click, and I like that
I
shit.
was liking all her shit.
All of that shit.
All her shit? All her shit.
Unnecessarily, but it's needed. I'll tell you that shit right. I want to say that to all my brothers out there, of all races, if you have a problem, communicate with it. There's nothing wrong with sharing your emotions. I feel like also one thing that I think we need to touch on is how lightly we support toxic masculinity all the time. You know what I'm saying? And for example, like with my boys, you hear it all the time. You being a bitch ass nigga. Like why you talking that way? Like why are you being emotional?
Guilty.
You know what I mean? And even though it's subtle and we don't even know it's out of love and we're just playing around with each other, those are the supportive negatives that we do unconsciously all the time and don't think it really hurts. But it does. Though it's love and it's us or it's your boys and stuff like that, try to change it small increments. You know what I mean? Because everybody wants to be a better man. And if we can get those terms and those unprofessional shits, whatever the case may be, just stop it now.
On that note, before we get on into another rant, hit that bell for notifications. Definitely subscribe to the 22 Stone Productions YouTube channel. I can't talk today. Follow the Who's Manz Is This podcast, guys. It's your boy DSD Major signing out. Oh Soul.
What's up, people?
We love you. With Val.
Absolutely.
We're going to catch you in the next episode,
Thank
guys.
you so much.
You're welcome.
You're the
You guys
best.
for having me.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Can I get a high five? Yeah.